Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Silver Silk and More channel. I am back again with a fabulous new project. Today, we're going to be using hollow mesh and filling it with 5 millimeter gemstone beads for really what I would consider a instant gratification design. Memory wire is super easy to use. Just requires a little bit of technique and some innovative design to really get a stunning bracelet put together. There's nothing I love more than the sea, the ocean, ocean life, coral, all things blue, teal, light blue, sea foam, you name it. Anything in that particular realm gets me super excited. And I know that this hot weather is definitely making me miss water. So I put together a palette of beads and chain that are inspired by the ocean. And I'm super excited to talk about the beads that I'm going to be using because some of them are from one of my favorite companies, Jesse James Beads. And I'll be using some of their charms in this design. And so I'm just going to flip over to the photo of the finished design to show you guys what we're talking about here. And there it is. It is absolutely beautiful. And we are just going to go ahead and get right into it, starting with the tools. What you'll need are just a few different tools. We've got our chain nose cutters from Weber's. We've got our round nose pliers, which are also from Weber's. And I've got a pair of flesh cutters. These are double flesh cutters for cutting the memory wire. Memory wire does come in different gauges. And so I think the one that I'm using today, which is actually the next item on the list under the materials, is probably what's closer to a 22 gauge memory wire. It's fairly thin, but it's still insanely strong. And I've just got a couple coils of it. Let me show you the physical example of our design, and you'll see why we just need a couple coils. By the time you get the beads and the chain on, it really fills up and adds quite a bit of diameter to the design. So you could see that this is sort of the skeleton of it, and you can use more than 2 coils if you want to. It really just depends on how what the length of your bracelet that you want it to be. I would say that this is on the medium size, of the spectrum there. But you could definitely stack, several of these into place, and, it would look, I think, quite stunning, especially if you had different colors kinda paired together, or even different beads. So, yeah, I'm gonna work with a couple coils and show you guys how to work with that. We've got our silver silk hollow mesh, which is in a beautiful seafoam color. And hollow mesh is a knitted wire chain that basically is just a hollow mesh. It's knitted with 6 different needles, and it takes a single wire and knits around to form this beautiful, like, open knit sock, if you will. And what's great about this is that you can stuff up to size 5 millimeter beads within it. And you can even draw this down into a smaller size using a draw plate if you've got size 3 or 4 millimeter beads that you're wanting to stuff into this. Anything above size 5 millimeter is going to be a little tricky because you have to probably by that point expand out the mesh using either a dowel rod or a knitting needle with a wider diameter. But it's in its current form perfect for 5 millimeter beads. And so again, you'll just need about 18 inches, give or take. That'll give you a pretty good amount of wraps with that 2 coil memory wire. And then you'll need some end caps. So these are my custom silver silk plated um, hollow mesh end caps. They have a 6 millimeter opening there at the end, or on the bottom side of the cap. And then if you turn the cap around, it's got about a 2 millimeter opening there at the top. This is great if you're going to use a craft wire through whatever project that you're trying to string up. And the cap is just a nice, perfect fit over anything that's up to 6 millimeter. In this case, it's going to be perfect for this project because the beads are 5 millimeter and the chain will add just enough extra length to really stuff and use up all of the interior diameter of that end cap and fit on perfectly. So This has the imprint of the knitted wire texture on it, knowing it so that you'll fully know that it is silver silk. But I wanted to show off the other colors real quick to you guys because it does come in 6 colors total. And they do all each have my 5 layered plating on it. So they're insanely high quality. The interior core of these findings are brass, and layered on top of that are the 5 different layers of plating. They've got silver, we've got dark rhodium, antique gold, antique copper, and of course, bright copper, which are all tarnish resistant and all have that beautiful knitted wire texture on it. So I highly recommend if you're wanting some really stellar high-end end caps, check out the ones at silversilkonline.com. Um, what else have we got? We've got some head pins, which I've already wire wrapped into my beads that look like this. So I just sort of did that ahead of time. There are plenty of wire wrap eye pin tutorials out there for you. Or some of my other videos and over on the YouTube channel have how to make these. I just pre-made them ahead of time just to kind of save us some steps here. And then we've got round gemstone beads. So you guys saw them on the strand there. And I'm just going to bring out a few here that I'm using. It is important to grab a caliper and measure out the beads. If you're above a 5 millimeter, it is going to be very difficult to stuff it through the hollow mesh. I will say that because I know some customers have asked me that they've not been able to stuff the hollow mesh. And I just kind of have to remind them that, like, if it's over a 5 millimeter, it's not going to work unless you've made that mesh wider with a knitting needle. So double check the size, and you should be in pretty good shape if you're at that 5 millimeter size. I showed you guys the feathery tassels. These all came from Jesse James Beads, by the way. Look at how gorgeous these components and things are. And by the way, I do have some 6 millimeter jump rings, also from the Silver Silk Findings collection, have that same plating technology. And I don't know why balloons came up, but you're you're welcome. And then the feathery tassels, of course, sort of lost my train of thought. I did not expect balloons to come up. Anyway, those jump rings will be used to connect our components, our bead baubles, and our charms at the ends of the memory wire as just decorative tassel. And then, of course, I just showed you guys the bead baubles, but I did want to pan over to the octopus charms, which are just freaking adorable. Like, look at those. So cute. Came in the Jesse James beads mix. Let's see. This is part of their mystery box, and you just get a ton of kits, a ton of beads. And there are like mini bead mixes within the actual mystery kit packaging, but this is just a few to give you guys an idea of how many possibilities there are for you to choose from. Again, I'm going with the sea green palette, so I just sort of, pulled out those colors. And I believe we can get started with our tutorial. So let's head over to step 1. I'm going to grab my round nose pliers as well as my memory wire. And I'm going to create a couple of coils at the end of my chain here. So this is where you kind of have to be a little careful because memory wire can be a bit unruly, but grab it with your tip of your pliers and give it a good grip and then just slowly turn it, rotating your wrist at a 45-degree angle until you get 2 solid coils there. The reason that you want 2 coils is that it's just going to make the entire loop strong. It won't interfere or cut you because that little end is just tucked away. And anything that you attach to it is going to be just, again, ultra secure. I do have the coil going toward the wearer, which you can flip this around actually with a pair of pliers. I'm just going to leave it because I think it's not really going to bother anyone since it's rounded and it's not going to stick at you or poke at you when you wear it. So at this point, I'm kind of ready for the next step, which is to add on the end cap. So here, you can grab your end cap and simply slide it down. You'll want to be on the, I guess, the outer side of the end cap whenever you string this down. and just loop it around. Now, mind you, if you have additional coils on your memory wire, it does get to be a little tricky with trying to fumble around and get all that stuff strung efficiently. So, my advice and my takeaway is that I think if you do the two coils and then just make additional bracelets that are separate, of the memory wire coils, meaning that you've got another couple bracelets that have just two coils, switch up the color, switch up the beads, switch up the charms and everything, and just make them stackable. That way you can actually work with it. It'll be a lot easier to put together, a lot quicker, and there'll be less time fussing with all of the different beads and components as you're stringing on this. Memory wire tends to be a little bit unforgiving because it is meant to, stick in a certain shape. So I think that's sort of my takeaway with this project experience. All right. So once you have it strung on, we'll want to go ahead and string on our beads. Now we can do a few at a time here. So let's take back those three that I brought out. And there's really no easy way to do this. You just simply kind of go a little bit at a time, a few beads at a time. Turn on the TV, turn on the radio, turn on your music. Because if you're doing one at a time, it is the most therapeutic and the most meditative mindset to be in. The beads will want to sink down into the end cap, and you're just going to go ahead and let them for now as you kind of string all this stuff together. Now, I am not going to string all this together for you in person because I've already got an example that I've pre-strung. So you guys will be less bored sitting watching here, watching me string all these beads together. But went ahead and did it ahead of time. So I just have sort of this little clip here at the end holding all my beads together. But you can see that an 18-inch strand of gemstones kind of gets the job done for having, a couple wraps in there for you. So what I'm going to do is move over to the next step. And I'm going to make a little hook at the end of my memory wire. The reason that we're going to do this, and it can be an ugly hook, it doesn't have to be a pretty hook. The reason that we want to do this is for two different things. One is that my beads will not fall out whenever I'm working with putting the mesh over the beads, but also you don't want anything that's going to poke straight out as you're filling the mesh over the beads because the part that sticks out is wanting to go through all of the different knits in the chain, and then your beads will start to fall out and stuff will start to happen. So I recommend doing the hook. Make sure that you have at least an inch of extra. I probably have a little bit less than an inch, at least 3/4 of an inch extra memory wire to work with, and that way you have plenty of room for the hook, and you'll also be able to make those two loops at the very end. So having said all this, let's go ahead and start putting our mesh right over the chain or over our beads. So I'm just going to grab one end and I'm going to start to just stuff it right through. You might have to kind of, I don't know, twist this around to get it to flow nicely over the beads. Remove my tools out of the way as I do this because I do not want anything tangled. There we go. And you simply just go through the beads. I tend to leave the entire spool of knitted wire chain together. I don't cut anything, and I think that's just my way of preserving as much of it as possible. Because I like to save. I like to save my materials. I like to hoard my materials. I know there's quite a few of us out there that enjoy keeping and preserving and oohing and awing over the beauty. At some point, you are going to have to use a material, but you don't have to be wasteful about it. You can resource, repurpose, and save as much as you need to for future projects if you just think about the materials in a wise way and use it, very smartly. So I am still just kind of working this around. I'm approaching the end of my beads here. I sort of pulled them out from underneath the end cap and have just used my finger to kind of keep it away from the end cap there. Once you reach the end, we're going to go ahead and move to the next step. which is to pinch that chain right around that last bead like this. The reason for that is that it will just help tuck into that end cap quite nicely. It'll sort of package everything together, and so your beads are not going to escape. And at that point, what you can do is kind of go back through and take out any slack on the chain, which that looks pretty good. I might do a little bit of extra editing at the end. I would actually grab not those pliers, but my flesh cutters. So maybe we did need an extra tool. I'm just going to grab a pair of flesh cutters, and the way to cut hollow mesh is to go all the way around one knit at a time, and don't squish down on the entire chain all at once. It's going to squish the chain and not make it unusable or difficult to use later on. All right, so now you could just kind of pull all your beads down, make sure that the beads go back into the end cap all nicely. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers so that I can hold all this and make sure that everything is fitting quite nicely. And then you're going to do the same thing up here. You're going to grab the end of your mesh and try and squish it right around that last bead. Okay, so that is just nice and packaged out there. They're at the end. Once you've done that, you can actually undo your hook, grab your second end cap, and slide it over those beads. And the form of your cuff is pretty much good to go. This is at the point where we can um, trim the end of this memory wire if we need to and start creating our loops with our round nose pliers. I've got all these little wire fuzzies that are bothering me, so I'm just going to swipe them out of the way real quick and go back in here, grab the end with the tip of my pliers and just start to rotate a little bit at a time. You may end up getting more than 2 coils, which is perfectly fine. We're just looking for a nice, clean finish there at the end, which looks like that. And now I've got both of my coils all nice and neat. Everything is tucked away inside of the end cap, so it's not going to escape, and it just looks nice and full. So at this point, we can choose our charms and stuff and start to place those in. I'm going to grab this little tray of sweet little charms and grab my uh, jump rings, and I'm going to just open them up. I open them up with my fingers. It's probably a better idea to use tools, but my jump rings are soft enough to open with your fingers if you want to, and if you want to use your tools, that's always an option. So I don't think the green beads are going to go there. I may have to end up wire wrapping those at some point, but for now, I think we're going to attach these. Once you've gotten it through the coils of the loop, just bring that jump ring back together. It even looks pretty with just the 2 charms. But I wonder if I might need a... Actually, I might have a bigger jump ring. Let's use a 9mm jump ring and see where that gets us for these big charms. Because I really do like these. Oh, there we go. Okay, okay, we got this. I'm going to attach that. And I think my loop might be too small, so I might have to just attach it to the jump ring. But kind of love that. It's like a little chain. And then I could add a little bead bobble here at the end for that second hole. I'm telling you, the amount of possibilities and embellishing things, one could go nuts. Okay, I'm going to repeat the same thing. We're just going to grab our bauble, our tassel, go ahead and attach that at the end. You could even do different beads on different sides instead of doing it symmetrically like I am. Okay, I'm going to grab my 9mm jump ring, which, by the way, are also available on silversilkonline.com. They're just a bigger size, and it's perfect for the unusual charms and things that you might encounter along your creative journey. Oh my gosh, I love this. Now, I'm a fan of green and sea foam colors, and so, like, of course, this project is just singing to me. I also like the cohesion of the golds that I'm using. And I decided today that it was not going to be a mixed metal project. It was going to be a fully gold project. And I am sticking to my guns on that one. But you can see how quickly this came together. It's just a fun, fantastical little bracelet that's easy to put on, easy to gift, by the way, and very, very wearable in all the ways. So there's one. Again, we talked about stackable. So if you've got more than one bracelet, you can just put all those on at once. Have yourself a little wrist mess of goodness and enjoy creating them. So that is my tutorial, folks, and I'm so glad that you were able to tune in and join me today. If you are enjoying this content, please subscribe to the channel. Tell your creative friends about Silver Silk and more. Ask them to come over to YouTube, give my videos a thumbs up, and just enjoy the channel. There's a lot of learning, a lot of education, and a lot of fun with SilverSilk. And it excites me. I love coming up with these fun little projects for you guys. And you can even check out the SilverSilk online website for more tutorials. There's a separate tab at the very top of the website that says SilverSilk tutorials, and there are more comprehensive instructions that are step by step, including photography and some extra links to fun stuff that you guys need to have in your creative journey. You can also follow my Instagram for even more inspiration, and this is just a fun little world that we live in. So enjoy it. Find us over on the Silver Silk Silkies Facebook group. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that we're everywhere, and you shouldn't miss us. But come find us and have fun with Silver Silk. So until next time, be creative, have fun. I hope you have a warm and safe day, and I will see you next time at the next tutorial. Bye, everyone.